I'm excited today. Chad Prather is with me. Chad Prather is with me. He is an actor, musician, TV, and podcast host, and comedian, currently on the Star Spangled Banner comedy tour. Chad, belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Brother Jesse, it's good to see you. Happy Christmas, Merry New Year, and all the good stuff together.
That's right. How was your Christmas?
It's fantastic. How was yours?
It was great. It was excellent, matter of fact.
Good.
And so a lot I want to talk to you about. I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for coming on. I know it's a holiday and you're taking out your time to do interviews. It's amazing. You had a viral video called Unapologetically Southern. What does that mean?
Well, a couple of years ago, we had some folks, I guess it was about 2015, we had some folks that were giving a hard time to the South. You know, that was pretty big deal going on in the media those days. Everybody needs an enemy, and at that point in time, I think the South was the one that was getting picked on the most, both historically and culturally. And so I had someone that sent me a private message one day and said, "We hear your accent, so we know where you're from. Therefore, we know that we don't have to take you very seriously, being from the South." So I pulled in off the side of the road there, sat in my truck, put the dashboard on the camera, and started talking to it. And that was my response of being unapologetically Southern, basically saying you can make fun of our accent, but I don't, that's really the only one we've got. It's the only one we've ever known. So I don't know that you could judge anybody's intelligence based on the accent of their voice. And it went viral. We've had a number of different videos of both humorous response and little vignettes that I've put out there over the years that have, crossed the 1 billion mark in terms of their view counts on platforms like Facebook and YouTube. So it's been interesting to watch the response of people across the country as they get offended by things that are, to you and me, just common sense.
Yeah. What part of the South were you born and raised in?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I was actually born in New Jersey and lived there exactly 4 months.
Amazing.
4 months. That's where my mother was whenever she went into labor with me. So she didn't have much choice but to have me there right outside of New York City. But I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, and went to school at the University of Georgia. I migrated over to the great state of Texas, which I believe is the center of the universe, about 20 years ago, and I don't think they're ever going to make me leave. Yeah. I don't think they can get me out of here, Jesse.
That's right. I grew up in Alabama, down by Eufaula, Alabama, Tuskegee area. Sure. And I was born on a plantation, raised under Jim Crow law, and I realized you can take me out of the South, but you can't take the South out of me. And I love the South. I noticed that under Barack Obama, the fallen Messiah, they tried to turn the South red because they're trying to turn Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and other places. They tried to turn it blue. They tried to get the Democrats to take over there. I hope that doesn't happen. What is the possibility of Alabama, Georgia, and Texas turning blue?
I think that historically they want to look back at the Southern Democrats and talk about, that was a different breed of Democrat. If you go back, a lot of years. These days, and we saw in Georgia with the tight race between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams for governor there in the state of Georgia, it's a little scary how much Kool-Aid people seem to be drinking these days in believing a lot of falsehoods and all the way down to things like socialism. So it's kind of scary when you think about it. Now, I know some dyed-in-the-wool conservative folks out there who they may still call themselves Democrats, but they're not buying into this crazy persuasion that people are trying to foster on them these days in the Deep South. We just got the census reports just in the last 2 days about Texas now being the fastest growing state in the union once again, and people are moving here in droves to the tune of about 1,000 a day. Now, what I'm praying and hoping is these folks who are coming to Texas won't come in here and start casting ballots and making decisions in the election booth and around voting time that's going to change the nature of Texas, because it's going to change fundamentally the reason they came here in the first place, and that has me concerned.
Not only are there people moving there to Texas from California and other areas, they have truckloads of illegal aliens coming in every day, and the Democrats are seducing them by giving them free stuff in order that they may vote for the Democrats.
They are, and anybody that says differently knows that they're talking ignorantly. And that's absolutely the fact. Anybody that lives down in South Texas and can sit there on their front porch and watch drug mules pass through their front yard on a daily basis knows that I'm telling them the truth. Now, we just got a report from MasterCard that says over the Christmas holiday that folks spent $850 billion on Christmas presents. Now, Jesse, how many walls do you think we could build across the southern border for $850 billion? And the president's only asking for about 6 here, $5.7 billion. It's a drop in the bucket when you consider our consumerism that we have bought into. Yes. And it's a lie that we've salved our consciences with every Christmas rather than keeping the real meaning in it. And I'll tell you, we're going to lose the real meaning of what America is if we don't do something about that southern border. And that's a fact. Right. It's not racist. That's not mean. That's just a fact. And if you don't believe me, come on down and we'll take a visit to the border. I'll introduce you to some ICE agents, some Border Patrol agents, and you'll see firsthand.
Why do you think regular folks, not the Democratic politicians and others, but regular folks don't understand that we have to put a wall around our borders? We need to protect the American citizen first, and we need to be careful with open borders because we have ICE. We have bar coming in, and we have drugs and criminals and women bringing children in, trying to suck the life out of a social system, and we have to pay for it. Why don't regular Democrat voters understand that?
Well, they've been lied to. Obviously, the mainstream media has sold us all a bill of goods and made us believe that we're less than compassionate if we don't open up the doors and let folks in. But we all know the story of the Trojan horse. If you let 10 people in, if only 10% of those 10 have a problem and have a wish to put ill upon America, then we got a problem. We got an issue there. And we know good and well that there are folks that are planted in those migrants, in those so-called refugees, those immigrants, if you will, who are trying to come across the border. We know they are. And we also know that they're here under the liberal promise that if they get here, they not only come to a land of opportunity and milk and honey, but they also come to a land of free stuff. And that was evidenced when folks were turned away at the border there in Tijuana, and then they started lawsuits against President Trump demanding $50,000 each. Yeah. So they think that money's growing on the trees, and it's not up here. And Tucker Carlson's been catching a hard time over what he said, losing sponsors and things like that. But go down to Tijuana. Look what was left behind. Look at the situation. Once those folks hit the wall and were turned back, go down there and look. It was a mess, an absolute mess. It's still a mess down there. And anybody that says that it's not, or that it's less than compassionate to look at that way, you got to open your eyes. But Jesse, you and I know folks are living with blinders over their eyes. They can't see. Yeah. They can't see not only the physical reality, but they can't see the spiritual reality of what's going on. If you don't have borders, you don't have a nation. And we know that's a fact. And we have the right to protect that border under any means necessary. Our president that we put in office ran on a platform of building a wall. We supported that. The 65 million Americans went into the polling booth and voted for that, and we believe in it. And folks are out there trying to fund it, do what they can. And the mainstream media, the liberal folks on the left, Hollywood, and everybody else is fighting it. And I say, you know what? I think there's a lot of patriotic Americans out there ready to defend our borders and ready to make sure that we remain a patriotic and free America with liberty. And it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, because I'm telling you, America is going to remain America. Yeah. And there are folks out there like you and me with our voices and platforms are going to make sure it happens.
Have you noticed that there is an attack upon straight, white, conservative, Christian men of power? And that's one of the reasons that they hate the Great White Hope so much. The Great White Hope is President Trump, just in case. And,
I know.
Yeah, because he is a straight, white, conservative, Christian man of power. He's putting the country first. And if they can destroy those type of men, it will be over with the country. Because it's straight, white, conservative, Christian men, for the most part, who are holding the country together. And if we lose them, it's over, because the black, not all, but most of the black men and the Hispanics and others have caved into the liberal ideology. And if they get rid of the white man, it's over. Have you noticed that?
Well, I've said, Jesse, I've said for years that the worst thing in the future that you can be in America is a straight white American Christian heterosexual male. Yeah. There is an attack upon it. And look, I'm a guy who has spent a lot of time in a lot of countries around the world. I spent a lot of my 20s and my 30s, 2 decades in West Africa. Spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, Central South America. I've been all over the world. I've seen it. I know America is great. I know it's a pleasure to come home because there's no place on earth like this. But I tell you, I don't care. You know, I've had people who have come to me and said, you know, we need more people of color in leadership. We need more people of color doing this or doing that. And I said, no, what we need is people who are more American.
Yes.
I don't care what color your skin is. It doesn't matter. That's just pigmentation. That's melatonin. Nobody cares about that.
That's
our
right.
DNA is less than 0.001% difference regardless of our skin color. Who cares about skin color? But we've made an ism out of it, and we got that spirit of ism that people are chasing. And I'm telling you, it may be hard. It may be hard. But I believe with God in front of us, we're going to make a difference regardless of the color of our skin when we come together.
I believe that too. Chad, let me take a quick break. I want to hold you for one more segment. And a few more questions for you. 888-77 Jesse. It's an honor to be talking to Chad. I knew it would be. I watched some of his video last night. And it's amazing. Happy New Year, folks. Back in a moment. I have the honor of speaking to Chad Prather, actor, musician, TV, and podcast host, and comedian, currently on the Star Spangled Banter comedy tour. Chad, how can people get to your website, get more information about you and your tour and everything?
The easiest way to find me is at watchchad.com. And they can also follow me on Twitter at watchchad and find me all over Facebook and YouTube. Jesse, I got to tell you, man, you know, they have me on news programs all the time and a lot of different podcasts and national TV, but nobody cares unless I'm on Jesse Lee Peterson's show. That's all. Everybody in my family all week long, they look forward to listening to Jesse Lee. My sons, we were listening to the latest episode last night. We were in the car, we were coming home, and my son said, wait, the episode's not over with. So he had to come in, jump on YouTube. He's 12 years old, had to finish listening to Jesse. So God bless you, my friend. You're a friend in this household. But you know what? We're not raising beta males around here.
That's right.
We're not raising beta.
Alpha males. That's right. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for that, man. I don't take that for granted. And say Happy New Year to your folks for me. I absolutely appreciate that.
Will.
I wanted to ask, what does it take to encourage most white people to get over the fear of being called racist and or losing a job or whatever? Because of the fear that they have, we are losing this country. And I don't think it's going to change until white Americans start to be honest and defend themselves and stand for justice and what is right in the country. So what would it take to encourage them to stand up for what is right?
Well, let's go back to where we started, Jesse. Honestly, we talked about the video that I did, Unapologetically Southern. So you got to be unapologetically everything else. You got to be unapologetically American. You got to be unapologetically patriotic, unapologetically who God created you to be, unapologetically white, whatever your skin color may be. You have no control over that. And here's the thing. We have grown up with, we've gotten a new generation of folks who are scared to death of rejection. Yeah. They're scared of being called names. The word racist and racism has lost all meaning because it's been thrown aside. It's a word that unfortunately is being lost into the dustbin of history without meaning because people have thrown it around so much that we've forgotten what the real thing is and what it looks like. Does it exist? Sure, hate exists. Prejudice exists. Bigotry exists. But when you're throwing it around uselessly, it loses all meaning. So what I encourage people to do is get a little bit thicker backside and you know, grow a set, if you will, and let's toughen up, because people are going to call you names. You're going to deal with rejection, and if the rejection of man can destroy you, then there's no hope for you, because I'm telling you, we're moving into a day and age which was actually prophesied in the scripture that said you're going to face persecution.
Yes.
And this is not a physical battle. This is a spiritual battle. You and I know that. And folks have to open their eyes to that reality. God created you on purpose without mistakes. You are here in this moment of history with a sense of destiny and identity by God's divine plan, and you can't apologize for that.
That's right. I have proven that there is no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, or deadbeat-dadism. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. When I was growing up on the plantation in Alabama, under the Jim Crow law, we were told that it's not about color, it's about character. It's either right or wrong, and that all white people did not agree with Jim Crow laws. There were good ones and bad ones, just like good and bad blacks. And then the so-called civil rights movement started, and they ushered in those words, racism or racist, and people start quoting those words, and now they believe that it really is. Where if they can see that we have good and bad people on both sides of the fence, they can see that it's about the character, it's the spirit, and not the color. I wish that they would return to those values.
It really is about the content of the heart, isn't it,
Yes,
Jesse?
yes.
It really is. And unfortunately, we have certain words out there like racism that fuel a very large cash cow. It's an industry. And if you take it away and you take away the idea that hate is so invasive and pervasive, then people are going to lose a lot of money. Therefore,
Yes.
they demand that it continues to exist. It is that spirit of ism. Whatever you put in front of it, if you add ism to the end of it, it becomes a religion.
Yes.
And you have to bow down and worship that idol. And some people have tasted the fruit of it. It's an evil fruit, but it is so seductive. And people want it, they desire it, and they don't know how to get enough of it. And unfortunately, that's why if people don't wake up to the fact that this is a spiritual battle, I have no hate in my heart whatsoever for
That's
another
right.
human being. I
That's
don't.
right.
But that does not mean when I speak truth. When I speak the truth, and honestly, when I come at you with truth, I am not speaking out of a motivation of hate. It is just simply truth.
That's right. Absolutely. We have a situation in this country now that all white people are suspicion or suspects. They believe that just because you're white, you're racist. Even the so-called people of color who supposedly support the white Democrats. The white Democrats are not allowed to disagree with the black or people of color Democrats because the white Democrats would be called racist if they disagree with them outwardly.
Well, Jesse, all you got to do, and I'm telling you, you heard it here. You heard it right here. You heard it out of my mouth right here 2 days after Christmas 2018. It is a circular firing squad.
Yeah.
It is a matter of time until they begin to consume their own on a mass scale. Now, you're already seeing it on a small basis.
Yes.
Hollywood consuming Hollywood, media consuming media, politicians consuming politicians. It's going to continue to happen because logic stands on its own. Truth stands on its own.
Yes.
Whenever you have fallacy and falsehood, it will by nature, it's a house of cards, it will implode. And so just sit back and watch. It may take a little time, but fundamentally it is false and it will fall in on itself. And you're going to watch this because hate, if you don't feed hate, it's going to consume something.
Yes.
And eventually it will become cannibalistic and it'll feed on itself. Just watch and see.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
I got two more things, so many things to ask, but two more especially. The Super Bowl is coming up, and the children of the lie are trying to prevent some rapper or someone from performing at the Super Bowl because they want that thug Colin Kaepernick to come back and play. And he turned his back on the flag, on the national anthem, on the country, on the fans and everyone. And so he doesn't have a football job. And these thugs want him back. And now they're trying to force this performer, I don't know exactly who it is, but trying to force him from performing at the Super Bowl. What do you think about that? Travis
right
Scott.
Yeah, Travis Scott. That's
Yeah.
a perfect example of the left consuming the left. Now, you hear Jay-Z coming out and Al Sharpton coming out and saying you can't do this. Now, Jay-Z's wife made quite a bit of money
Yes.
just a couple of seasons ago performing in that very same Super Bowl at halftime. But I don't see Jay-Z encouraging her to give the money back. Now,
Right.
if Kaepernick wanted a job, he should probably have been better at his job.
Yes.
But obviously, he was a mediocre third-string quarterback who needed to put his name in the headlines, and so he kneeled down during the national anthem and never could fully describe exactly why he was doing it, and I'm still a little confused as to why. Now, as for the Super Bowl, you look at NFL football, it's a microcosm of America. It used to be about these gladiators who got together and crushed each other's skulls while girls in short skirts danced on the sidelines. I mean, it was America, right? People came in there and they saw this. They wanted to see the gladiators go at it. But now you got to break it down to all this little bitty stuff, and that's where it is in America. We can't just go out there and be free and live and loving baseball and apple pie patriotic Americans anymore. We got to look at all the little microaggressions and the little microcosms of life here, and everybody's got all their issues. The Super Bowl in football needs to just get back to people busting heads. They can't even tackle quarterbacks anymore, Jesse.
That's right.
They get the flags on. They get $20,000 fines for tackling somebody the wrong way. It's crazy.
Amazing. Chad, thank you so much for coming on. If you're ever in L.A., I want you in studio.
Yes, sir. I'm going to come see you.
Okay. Happy
Thank
New
you,
Year
Jesse.
to you and your family. I wish you well. We'll talk again.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. God bless you. Amazing, folks. I could go on and on.